opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud?
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yeah!
God bless America.
Start the game.
Jim Cornelison, who is a famous Chicago icon, usually leading the national anthem off for the Chicago Blackhawks, rang in a rousing performance last night, Chris, for the Bears-Rams game. You could hear the crowd. You could hear the crowd singing along. And, Chris, this went viral today because it was so American. It was so given everything that's been a disaster in this country over the last several years, including over the last few weeks with what's going on in god-awful Minneapolis. I just thought it'd be a nice way to open up the show. We've got NFL playoffs tonight. We have the huge final game, the BCS championship between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Miami Hurricanes. So I thought, how about we start off on a positive day here on what is a positive holiday.
That's true.
Martin Luther King Day as well.
You know, my mom, my late mother, was a singer, Tim, and she always said that when you sing, you're supposed to sing from the diaphragm, not from your lungs. And you listen to that rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, that's what you call singing from the diaphragm. He belted it out. He did a fantastic job. And I think part of the reason why people loved it so was I think the national anthem becomes so routine for some of these people when they sing it. So it's just like, okay, they're just going through the motions. Or they improvise a lot, and it seems like they're trying to make it about them than the sport or the national anthem. He just sang it from his heart, national anthem way it's supposed to be sung. And I think people appreciate that more than anything, as he gave it his all, wasn't trying to be a star, wasn't trying to improvise it, and did a great job. That's right up there with Whitney Houston's Super Bowl.
She did a great job, too.
Star-Spangled Banner rendition.
She did a great job. Lady Gaga, actually, did a great job at one of the Super Bowls. We were all worried about Lady Gaga singing the national anthem, but she paid it proper respects. And when they do it right, they do it so well. And you feel goosebumps. You feel tears in your eyes of joy. You feel so patriotic. And I thought maybe our listeners needed that because you and I and everybody on the station, we have to cover the news every day. It's been nonstop tragedy TV and tragedy radio for the last several weeks, given what's going on in Minneapolis with the attacks on our law enforcement. So I thought it'd be cool to play this. Chris, this went viral today. The reason I saw it was everywhere, all over the Twitterverse, which I am typically on Twitter. I check it out every day, see what's happening. And two things struck me as I was watching the video of that performance. Three things. Well, number one, Jim Cornelison is unbelievable. He's a great big dude, gave it his all. That was number one. Number two, the players. They panned a lot of the players, Rams and Bears. And usually the players are, I get it, they're thinking about everything but the national anthem because it happens at the beginning of every game. They're thinking about, okay, here's what I'm going to do on the opening kick or the opening return. Here's what I'm going to do in the opening drive. Like they're getting themselves psyched up. Maybe they're just zoned out. The players, Chris, a ton of them were singing along to the national anthem. Like you could just see the emotion in them. And then the crowd. When have you ever been able to hear the crowd singing along with the singer singing the anthem? You could clearly hear the crowd just getting into it. It was snowing at Soldier Field. It was fantastic. The only thing wrong with that whole game, Chris, was the Rams won.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. I know everyone here in St. Louis, except for people that, I don't know, have something wrong with them, were rooting against the Rams. My wife and I definitely were. I wanted to see the Bears get back to their glory years of 1985 and before, but good game. They lost by a touchdown.
What a great
I think
game.
It was a good game. And when you watch that game, that's how football is supposed to be played. When it's 14 degrees outside, 7 is what it felt like, snow on the ground, and these guys are just playing for all because they know that after this game, if they lose, they go home. And everybody wants to go to the Super Bowl. So playoff football is the most exciting football time of the year. It really is.
Watch tonight's game, folks. It should be a humdinger. Nobody, Chris, has gotten close to touching the Indiana Hoosiers this year. We'll see if this Hurricanes team. Okay, the Hoosiers should win tonight on paper and with everything we've seen. And I haven't watched a ton of college football, but I've watched a few of these playoff games. The Hoosiers look unstoppable. They look like an NFL team. But the Hurricanes are playing with emotion. They've got that coach that they got a big old boy of a coach there. Always gives grace and glory to God every time they win. And I think they're going to come in with whatever they might lack in talent against the Hoosiers. And they're a heck of a talented team. It just seems like the Hoosiers are unstoppable. I think the Hurricanes may make it up in passion. I'm hoping for a good game. I'm hoping for not a blowout. And maybe we'll get another great singing of the national anthem.
I think the Miami Hurricanes are going to get a little of a boost because the game is in Florida. It's supposed to be on neutral ground, of course, but I think with this game being in Florida, that may give them a little extra shot of adrenaline for this game. But from what I've seen of the Indiana Hoosiers, I don't watch a lot of college football, but I watched them play Alabama, and that's when I was like, this team is for real. I don't see anyone stopping them. I think we're going to see history tonight, Tim. We're the first college team to go undefeated on their way to the championship. I think we're going to see that tonight.
Mario Cristobal is the coach of the Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, shout out to my buddies Pete and Michael. Pete went to Indiana. I don't know if Michael did, but he's from Indiana, and he's been rooting the Hoosiers on all the way through. So hope you guys witness a good game tonight and so on and so forth. Chris, we got a big show today. We're here on a holiday. Yeah. Chris and I are live.
I'm a black man working on Martin Luther King. I'm the biggest Uncle Tom there is probably to some folks.
You should file a complaint with corporate.
I will, if they were here.
If they were here.
Yeah.
We do have producer Ethan here as well.
Looking
Ethan,
all studious today with the glasses on.
He looks very encyclopedic.
I'll be here all week.
He will be. Ethan, thank you for being here, because otherwise Chris and I would just go over there and bang on the buttons and knobs and hope something worked.
I don't think we'd be on the air.
That's what I'm doing.
Producer Ethan in with us. Joey is likely somewhere much warmer than here. I believe he's cruising this week.
And the dude's actually working. He sent us the notes for David Stokes' appearance tomorrow. I think he emailed Ethan on some things. So it's like, I wanted to email him like, dude, you're like on vacation on a cruise ship. What are you doing?
Like you, I'm doing my best not to bother Joey.
Stay with me.
He's an excellent producer, folks. And just so you know, he makes Chris and I look really good every day. But I am doing my darndest to just kind of fumble through this week, and we're like trying to find our own sound clips and make sure we have the guests. And I think Joey did a pretty good job of pretty much filling our schedule for us, so we don't have to worry about that. But Joey, please relax. I know he's not listening to the show right now. I doubt it. But in case he is, Joey, have a great time, and we'll see you next week. Chris, we got a huge lineup this holiday, this Martin Luther King holiday, and we'll be speaking with Admiral Charles Williams at 4:25. Senator Jim Talent off for the holiday. But we haven't spoken with Admiral Chuck in a long time, so we invited Admiral Williams to join us. Just to remind folks, we have him on periodically, but it's been a while. U.S. Navy Coast Guard Rear Admiral, U.S. Navy Rear Admiral, retired. He knows many things about international and national security affairs. And boy, Chris, do we have a whole list of things to try to get through with him today.
Yeah, I think we may need 2 segments for him, but we can't do 2 seconds because Chris's Corner at 4:45 is going to be a special Chris's Corner. We're going to have my dear friend Linda Ragsdale. She is a councilwoman for the city of O'Fallon, and she's going to report on the mayor last week calling her and her fellow council members effing idiots. So we're going to get the
Wow.
we're going to get the lowdown on that.
Some of the worst politics are local politics.
Oh, I tell you my story about working at the election board, and the most contentious elections are these little village elections and school board elections. Those people take those elections very, very serious.
And I served on a city council for 6 years, and as my one of my very good friends said, Tim, just get ready.
Yeah.
It's going to be all about hogs, dogs, and fences, meaning you're going to have every neighbor calling you about every little problem under the sun.
I think you could say the city of Eureka prepared you for the speakership.
It did. It did. Oh, I could tell you stories, man. I got to tell you the lavender farm story someday. That was pretty wild. This one guy was like my mortal enemy until the lavender farm went in, and it wasn't a development. It was this little agricultural area.
Okay.
It ended up being absolutely fine. He actually came up to me and apologized to me and said, Tim, that was the best thing that the city ever approved because it prevented like a 30-home subdivision going in. So it was a nice little agrarian area in the middle of one of our subdivisions.
Do you think you could see that type of goodwill in these day and age in 2026?
Tough.
I almost said 2025. 2026, you think that's possible?
You got to look for it. It's
Yeah.
there every once in a while. So, Admiral Charles Williams,
Looking forward to
U.S.
speaking
Navy
to him.
retired, joining us at 4:25. As Chris mentioned, 4:45, our very good friend Linda Ragsdale with a humdinger of a story.
Effing idiots.
An effing idiot of a story coming out of the O'Fallon City Council. 5:06, the Speaker's stump speech. Well, there's been a changing of the guard in the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's the end of one era and probably the beginning of an error. Will the crazy return to the Commonwealth in Virginia? Will the crazy return to the Commonwealth? Kind of a rhetorical question.
You know what? My wife just texted me, Tim, and said, I have been to the lavender farm. Now
No way!
Now my wife loves lavender. She puts it in pillows and stuff because it's supposed to help you sleep well at night, and that's a scent that she likes. Now I remember, Becky. I have been to the lavender farm.
It's unfortunately gone now.
Oh, is it?
But they did turn it into a very nice
To a subdivision?
Yeah, but big. I'm just going to say big-ass homes.
Right,
So
okay.
they didn't make it like a 40-home development.
Okay.
It's like a 12-home
Okay.
development. So, unfortunately, one of the owners passed away, and his wife moved back home to Texas, actually. And it was a farm that had been in this family for like 4 generations. And you know how it is, Chris. Eventually, everybody moves away and goes somewhere else, and nobody wants the farm anymore.
Yeah.
And so they sold it. And so it's a very nice area. It's a beautiful little area inside the Legends. But for a long time, it was a lavender farm. I actually had several fundraiser events there, and it was a really cool place. Glad to know Becky got to experience it because it was a really cool joint.
Now it's starting to come back to me. I think I've never been so bored in my life when she took me out there.
Yeah, not much for you to do there. Not much for you to do, but Chris, the ladies loved it. The ladies loved it.
Becky loves her lavender.
They did indeed. So anyway, 5:07, will the crazy return to the Commonwealth? 5:25, boy, talk about a lady who never gets a break. Susie Moore working on the holiday. I heard her this morning with Mike on Mike Ferguson in the Morning. So Susie doing the bookends here at News Talk STL. We can't thank her enough for it. Red State headlines. The folks at Red State are working away today. And that will round us out as we prepare you for Larry Connor's USA. Story behind the story and more beginning at 6:05. Oh, Chris, I forgot to ask you. What are you thinking of bringing to the peeps at 5:45?
I'm going to tell everyone that the U.S. is not the only economic power with declining birth rates. It's not only us, but other powers that may surprise you.
All of that and more. Chris, I heard a lot of interesting thoughts, and actually it was Larry Connor. Larry Connor's Larry does the little vignettes that are played throughout the day here on News Talk STL. He's an excellent writer.
Oh, yeah.
He's a professional, of course, folks. For those of you who are maybe new to St. Louis, Larry is an icon, a journalistic icon. He was on News Channel 4, the CBS affiliate, for several decades, and we're so blessed to have him here
And
now.
Channel 2.
And Channel 2. He was on both. That's right. And he talked all about the holiday and some of King's most famous quotations beyond the one that you're familiar with, right? About the humankind being judged someday on the content of its character, not the color of its skin. But he went into some of the other famous quotations. And my biggest takeaway, it's tough to play political soothsayer with people who are gone now for decades. Would King be a conservative? Would he be a liberal? Would he be a Democrat? Would he be a Republican? He was one thing for sure, Chris. He was a proponent of non-violent opposition.
Correct.
And I think he would be shocked at the political climate in today's United States of America.
Yeah, I don't think that he would support in the least what we're seeing in Minneapolis, where people are fighting with the police and are impeding police while they're trying to do their duty. That could have been done during the Civil Rights Movement, and they didn't. What got people, what King learned, is what got the public on your side was showing the abuse of the police towards black people and black people not fighting back and taking it and being dignified and civilized. That's what got the public on the side of the civil rights movement. What you're seeing now with, I saw a video today of these rioters are trying to tear down the fence at an ICE institution. There was a gentleman, I think he's a Nazi basically, but he tried to do a protest in Minneapolis. They surrounded him, chased him into different hotels and stuff, sprayed him with paint and everything. I forgot what the guy's name is. That's not what Martin Luther King was all about.
They invaded a church
over
the weekend.
Don Lemon.
Yeah. With his goofy staged broadcasting, not at all reporting what actually was the story.
And, whenever I see his microphone, it has the initials DL on it, which is supposed to stand for Don Lemon, of course. But I also reminds me he's not on the down low anymore because he's out of the closet. But I just look at it, I see down low. And that's that's the term used when a man is gay, but no one knows about it.
I love it.
So
down low.
I say down low lemon.
Down low lemon. Down low, Don Lemon.
Speaking of, I know we got to take a break. Speaking of quotes, one of the favorite Martin Luther King quotes that I have, and I kind of inspired me to work on Martin Luther King's Day and not take the day off. He said once, "If a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry." And we do something that we both very much enjoy. We get to come on the radio and give our opinions and talk to you all out there. And so the only way that you can do that is to actually do it, to become better at it. And so that's the way I view this. I want to come to work so I can get even better at what we do.
That's a great one. It also shows his philosophy. He was very much a believer in the individual, in nonviolent protest, in freedom and liberty, in government not doing everything to you and for you. And so that's what I love about King. I have read some of his, more obscure speeches and readings, and he was a fascinating individual. We were blessed to have him in this country, and we are right to honor him today.
I agree.
423, Chris, when we come back, Admiral Charles Williams going to talk about Russia, Ukraine, the Gaza peace deal. Are we going to eventually own Greenland? And more when we come back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, special holiday edition here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
Smoking in the boys' room. Now, teacher, don't you feel me? Up with your rules. Everybody knows that smoking ain't allowed in school.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more cold, frigid night, and then we'll get into a little bit of a warming trend. A low of 13, though, and not as windy in the morning, so wind chill not as big of a factor. A few clouds in the morning, then mostly sunny and a high of 38, getting above freezing. Even warmer for Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high of 46. We are watching another Arctic blast. It arrives Friday, Saturday. Could come with a little snow. We'll keep an eye on that towards the weekend, but it does look very cold, even lows near zero by Saturday morning. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Well, guess where I went today? Comprehensive Chiropractic. Going to tell you all about them. Yep, they're working today, too. They know that a lot of people do have the day off today to honor the holiday, and so they want to help out those folks that can only maybe fit in a visit on a Saturday or a weekend or a holiday. Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance. Check them out at chiropractic.com. I seriously, I feel really good now that I got up this morning and, from over the weekend, I do all the weekend warrior stuff, right? I try to be very active, walk a lot, work out a lot, exercise a lot, run around a lot. And by Monday morning, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need a holiday. So Comprehensive Chiropractic was on the list today. And Doc Fader straightened me all out, took care of me, did a little, it's called the Graston rod, did a little bit of that on my back, and I feel so much better. Comprehensive Chiropractic, premier chiropractic sports performance facility in the region. They can assist you, whether you are young or old, whether you play sports or you're just a weekend warrior or don't play any sports at all. They can help you with acute injuries, like things that happen suddenly. And you're like, where did that come from in my knee or my back or my ankle? Or chronic injuries, things that are just affecting you, pain. Living with pain is one of the worst experiences, right? I know a lot of people have done it. I've done it from time to time, and that's why they are my one-stop shop. They also have other services available to you as well. The Studio Health and Wellness Center upstairs, that's the Pilates and the yoga and the other classes to kind of keep you in shape and build your strength and endurance between your visits for chiropractic services. Massage therapy as well, not just an indulgence, but a nice thing to add to the baseline of the foundation of chiropractic care. And they have personal trainers, and they have nutritional specialists who can help you with your nutrition and your supplement needs. It is your one-stop shop for holistic health care. I am a living testament to it. Been going there for decades. Trust them with my family members, my daughters, my friends, my wife, and so many other folks. They love Comprehensive Chiropractic. You will too. Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic at cchiropractic.com for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for Santino's. It isn't just a cigar lounge. It's an experience spanning 2 levels of pure sophistication. Handcrafted cocktails, authentic Sicilian cuisine with sauces made from scratch. The state-of-the-art smoke filtration keeps the air pristine, while the separate non-smoking wine room offers a perfect alternative. Members enjoy the lowest rates with premium benefits, including the ultimate climate-controlled humidor. Santino's, just off Highway 55 at the Imperial exit, SantinoCigarCocktails.com.
Make your holiday special with Anthony's Produce, serving our community for over 28 years. Order fresh fruit and vegetable trays for work parties, family gatherings, and celebrations. Send chocolate-covered strawberries or a stunning fruit bouquet to someone you love. Plus, get seasoned firewood for pickup or delivery to keep your home cozy all winter long. Open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Order online at anthonysproduce.com or call 636-936-0496 on Jungerman Road in St. Peters.
Hey, Columbo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
If we look for years, for over a century, American presidents have wanted to acquire Greenland, and what we can see is that Greenland is essential to the U.S. national security. We're building the Golden Dome, the missile system, and look, President Trump is being strategic. He's looking beyond this year. He's looking beyond next year to what could happen for a battle in the Arctic. We are not going to outsource our national security. We are not going to outsource our hemispheric security to other countries. In Trump 1.0, President Trump told the Europeans, do not build Nord Stream 2. Do not rely on Russian oil. And guess what, Kristen? Guess what is funding Russia's efforts against Ukraine? European purchases of Russian oil. So America has to be in control here.
429 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And as we said earlier in the show, we did not have Senator Talon with us today. He's taking the day off. But we do have an old guest who we haven't had on in a while. He is Admiral Charles Chuck Williams. He is an appointee in the first Trump administration. And we're glad to have you back, sir. How are you?
Good, Chris. Thank you.
Excellent. Hey, of course, the big news is Greenland, along with other events around the world. I want to ask you, from a naval standpoint, how strategic is the waterways around Greenland to the United States and to the West? I know that they have rare earth minerals and things of that nature, and they're a strategic spot, for to listen in to Russia and China. But from a waterway naval aspect, how important is Greenway to the United States?
Well, for a security point of view, the Navy would be the one that would probably be charged with maintaining that security. Certainly the Russians and the Chinese have vessels there that are going up and down that waterway near Greenland. They think it's important. So if they think it's important, and China and Russia would not be our friends, and they want the assets or potentially would want the assets available in Greenland, mineral rights, things you described earlier, they see value. So I think, President Trump looks at it and says, I need to make sure I protect American interests. I need to put sensors on that island. I think we have some now. We do have a base there. But if you've heard recently in the last, say, year, Putin has talked about nuclear war, about potentially using a nuclear warhead. And that freaks everybody out, rightly so. Whether he'd ever do it, I don't know, but he does talk about that. Well, if you had Greenland with sensors there and potentially missile capability, the missiles that would come from Russia to the United States, if that ever happened, would probably fly over Greenland. So there is value to that. And those mineral rights, I think the other thing that happened was got Trump's ire a little bit. When he was trying to negotiate with China on trade and semiconductor items, he thought he had a deal, and then China kind of pulled the rug out and said, you know what, we're going to cut back on special minerals that we have provided the United States in the past. And that is a weak spot for us. And so I think Trump has been looking ever since then. I can't be dependent on China. Where can I go to get this stuff? And I think Greenland offers that. So there's a few reasons.
Mm-hmm. Admiral, great to speak with you. Thanks for joining us today. And I want to follow up on that. Admiral, every time Donald Trump has an idea that is of this type of magnitude, the media, with their Trump derangement syndrome, completely flips out, and they have in this situation as well. Instead of focusing on some of the things you just mentioned, they focus on Trump as being a dictator and a tyrant and trying to be a colonial power and taking over other lands that we have no business in. Well, that's really not at all what's going on here, right, Admiral? In fact, the United States of America has been very interested in this prospect of acquiring Greenland in some case for a long time. In fact, I think even Missouri's own president, Harry Truman, once engaged in this effort. So this is, first of all, Admiral, this is nothing new, is it? And Greenland is incredibly important to our strategic national security interest, isn't it?
It is. I'm not sure if it was Truman or if it was Franklin Roosevelt, but an offer was made from the United States to Denmark to buy Greenland for $100 million. And the offer was not accepted, but there was a negotiation to allow a military presence on Greenland for us to occupy some of that soil. We could put a base, and we have, and we still have a base there. So you're right. It's not something that Trump just woke up one morning and said, I'd like to buy Greenland. It has been something that's been talked about for a long, long time. I mean, we're going back, 75, 78 years probably when an offer was first made.
Speaking with retired Admiral Charles Williams, he is a former appointee in the first Trump administration. Admiral, the European countries, several European countries have sent troops to Denmark under the guise of military exercises, but we think that they're doing that to try to make sure that President Trump doesn't send troops to take over Greenland, which is something I don't think will happen. How serious should we take this move by the Europeans?
Well, I think the Germans actually put troops there. They've already withdrawn them. I don't know how serious it is. I think it's just a way of making a statement that, look, you can't bully us as a European nation or as a European Union with NATO countries. We think that there's rights of sovereignty that a country has, and Denmark has that. And we don't think the United States should come in and just take that country. I guess if it were sold, if the people the Greenlanders wanted to be part of a territory of the United States, I suppose they could acquiesce and do that. But what I think, I could be wrong. I haven't talked to the president, obviously, and I don't have the same connections right now in D.C. anymore. But I think Trump is this real estate negotiator. And I've worked with some of these guys. I did real estate for a while. I remember once having a guy tell me, write up a contract for half of what the guy's asking. I said, half? I mean, come on. There's no way he's going to accept that. We're wasting our time. All we're going to do is get the guy angry. We'll never get the property. I just told you, make an offer for half. And the guy accepted it. And I'm sitting there, I'm bewildered, like, how can this possibly be? This goes against every principle I thought of in real estate. I think Trump likes to put, like, the most aggressive case he can out there and then see where the negotiations go from there. Because, I mean, look at the reaction around the world that he's getting by saying, I'm going to take Greenland. Everybody's up in arms, like, well, you can't do that. And we're sending troops, and we're with Denmark, and you're going to affect the European Union. You're going to affect NATO. I think he's playing a card, and now could I be wrong? Absolutely, but that's what I think he's doing. I think he's just doing a shrewd negotiation for real estate.
Admiral, there's always much and great turmoil in the Middle East, but Donald Trump has really exerted his sheer will on that region over the last year or so. And there have been some interesting results coming out of that. We have the Gaza peace plan that is being put together. And today, Admiral, you may not have seen this headline, but it's regarding Iran. The World Economic Forum, amazingly, kicked out the Iranian foreign minister from the Davos summit. Kind of shocked to see that amid deadly crackdown on protesters. Admiral, is this one of the most momentous periods that you've seen in the Middle East in your lifetime that might actually lead towards perhaps a fragile but more lasting peace?
Well, there's been so much conflict in the Middle East, it might be hard to qualify as one being worse than the other. But certainly what Iranian has done to their people, just killing people. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you saw that's so barbaric. You saw it with Saddam Hussein. You've seen it with other leaders in that part of the world. I hadn't heard about this individual being forced out of that Davos summit. Did he do something that irritated everybody, or just as a vote, they all got together and said, we don't want his presence here? Do you know which way that went down?
Yeah, they're just upset about what's going on with the crackdown on the protesters. So he was originally invited, and then he was uninvited, apparently at the last minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think what the president is trying to do is put a lot of pressure and let the Iranian people know he's there for them. It seems like it's kind of going a little bit of a cycle, a little bit up and a little bit down. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. But if the Iranian people, I remember years ago there was something called the Arab Spring. It happened in Egypt and other countries. And there was an uprising where there was really a coup attempt in several countries. And some of these rebels, if you will, said the power of the people is greater than people in power. So in Iran, the mass of the population coming out and saying we've had enough. Economically, they're in desperate straits. Inflation is, I think it's over 50% in that country right now. Oil is the biggest product, is export of oil. 20% of all the world's oil flows through that Strait of Hormuz, which is right next to Iran. If they can't get money from their oil, it's going to just continue to devastate their economy, and there's going to continue to be uprising. So I hope the people of Iran recognize this may be an opportunity, and I think as long as the president keeps pressure on, you could see that regime come down. And I think Israel is on the edge of wanting to take action. But even Israel and the other Arab countries have told the president not to back off a little bit. And I think their fear is in their own right for selling oil. It might really destabilize the oil markets, oil pricing. And I think there's all just a fear of the amount of American imperialism, if you will, that gets involved in the Middle East. I think it's kind of got some of these Arab nations on edge, and they're worried also about what Israel might do. And even though Israel publicly says we don't want to see an attack on Iran, I think privately they are working all the phones with everybody in the administration, Trump administration, to be more aggressive.
Admiral, the president has proposed to increase the Pentagon's budget to $1.5 trillion for 2027. That will be the largest Pentagon budget as a share of GDP since 1990. One of the things that Senator Jim Talent has expressed concern about is our lack of ships in our U.S. Navy. We're falling far behind the Chinese. Your thoughts on this increase in the budget to this level and our shipbuilding capacity right now?
Well, I've got two thoughts. So I've interviewed now for two positions in the Pentagon, and one of them is the guy that would acquire the ships, airplanes and ships. It's the guy in acquisition. They haven't filled that position yet. I don't know if I'm going to get it. It doesn't look like I will, but again, they haven't filled it. I've laid out a plan when I worked Project 2025. I did Navy issues and I did State Department issues. On the Navy side, I laid out what I thought would be the composition of the fleet. How many ships, what type, what they cost. We've got older ships. We don't have enough ships. We're about 291 thereabouts. China's probably over 400. There's such a thing as quality, but there's also such a thing as quantity. You know, how do you go to war with somebody if you had to, like say China, where you are just outgunned, outmanned? There is a requirement, in my opinion, for something called distributed force, meaning you don't put all your assets in one aircraft carrier or in a couple of ships. You want to have the force distributed, so that means more ships. It is a problem. The Air Force has got the same problem. They're flying airplanes that go back into the 1950s. I think our ship count is probably somewhere where it was in World War One, at the end of World War One. How far we've depleted the Navy. But we've got to be smarter how we buy. The idea of spending $15 billion on an aircraft carrier in Vietnam, for example, and even in World War II, we didn't have a carrier bigger than 40,000 tons. In Vietnam, we had 60, 70,000 ton carriers. Now we're over 100,000 ton carriers, which means we end up with maybe only 4 available for deployment, and maybe that's 2 in the South China Sea. We really need something that's more than that, and I think you could buy 2 smaller version carriers, 60,000 ton, for what you spend on a 100,000 ton Ford class. So same way with Arleigh Burke destroyers. What we spent on the Zumwalt destroyers, you could have bought 2.5 Arleigh Burke destroyers. So that gives you a distributed force. That is a bigger impact to be in the South China Sea, if that's where they need to be, or wherever around the world they need to be. We just don't have enough ships. So, yeah, it's a big budget requirement, but God forbid, man, we got to spend the money correctly, not waste it on things where the technology hasn't worked out. And, I mean, right now, these Zumwalt ships have very limited lethality compared to an Arleigh Burke, and they're much larger ships. They are the most recent technology, but they don't have the same impact. So I'd rather see the money spent on capability today rather than technology 5-10 years from now.
Mm-hmm. Your final question?
I'm good.
All right. That is Admiral Charles Williams. He is an appointee in the first Trump administration. Admiral, if I remember correctly, last time we talked, you wrote a book?
I did.
Let's go ahead and plug that.
I did a book signing. It was interesting. It was in Chesterfield. And, you know, it wasn't like a long line, but it was a steady line. And I was amazed at how much people wanted to talk. They wanted to talk about the Navy, talk about the world, events, leadership, about their children, their lives. And I really was kind of taken aback by the conversations that I had. So the book did okay. It's not great, but you know, when you feel you have a story to tell, you want to tell it. So I told it.
And what's the name of that book?
Perspective from the War Room to the Boardroom, which really takes you from a carrier at sea in a time where it really counted, when American prestige was on the line, American lives were on the line, and we had to get them out, to a boardroom where I sat on some corporate boards. And I try and go through the whole process from, you know, beginning of a career to an end of a career.
Admiral, thank you so much for your time today, filling in for Jim Talent. We learned a lot as always, and don't be a stranger. We'll have you back on again soon, sir.
All right, guys. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. 444. The name of that book, Tim, because I did not write it down. I know you were writing furiously there.
Perspectives from the War Room to the Boardroom by Admiral Charles Williams.
Go out and get the book. It's probably an excellent read. All right, coming up, We're going to speak with O'Fallon Council Member Linda Ragsdale and something about the mayor calling them effing idiots. We'll learn more about that. Coming up on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more cold, frigid night, and then we'll get into a little bit of a warming trend. A low of 13, though, and not as windy in the morning, so wind chill not as big of a factor. A few clouds in the morning, then mostly sunny and a high of 38, getting above freezing. Even warmer for Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high of 46. We are watching another Arctic blast. It arrives Friday, Saturday. Could come with a little snow. We'll keep an eye on that towards the weekend, but it does look very cold, even lows near zero by Saturday morning. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next,
Larry Connors USA.
With Larry Connors USA, you get news, analysis, opinion, and education.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Well, we've finally returned to the depths of winter. Yeah, bleak midwinter for sure here in the heartland. And if you have suffered any damage to your most prized assets besides your homestead, like to your trees, bushes, shrubs, wind damage, something of that sort, or if you just need something cleared out. A lot of times in the wintertime, we see things that we don't see when everything's completely leafed out. And you're like, oh, look at that tree. That doesn't look so hot. Or why is that branch hanging over my gutters? I want you to call Hanson's Tree Service and get them out lickety-split. They work all through the winter months into the spring. Heck, they're working 24/7, 365, right? They've got an emergency service line, hansonstree.com. hansonstree.com, expert insured tree care for all of eastern Missouri and now including the Lake of the Ozarks. Hanson's Tree Service provides a variety of services, including all the tree care I just mentioned, plus green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing, stump removal, and so much more. They've got awesome organic mulch. This is a perfect time to make sure your mulch beds are nice and full, right? Protecting all of the bulbs and stuff you've got in the ground for these freeze days. We're going to have some cold weather coming up. Order mulch online. Get hassle-free estimates online. 6 months, same as cash financing. You can check that out online as well, make payments, and so much more. Hanson'sTree.com, your one-stop shop emergency service line right there at the top if you need them. I hope you don't, but in case you do, they're a great company to call. Chad Hanson and the gang been with us since the very beginning. Hanson'sTree.com, Hanson'sTree.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
So I'd like to know where you got the notion. Said I'd like to know where you got the notion. To rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat, I don't tip the boat over. Rock the boat, I don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat.
4:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, and very honored to speak with a dear friend of both Tim and I. She is Linda Ragsdale. She is a county. Do you call yourselves aldermen or council people?
We are a charter city, so we are council.
Okay, councilwoman with the city of
But
O'Fallon.
I go by even hey you, whatever.
All right, all right. So how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, you texted me some disturbing news last Friday about an event.
I did. I was a little disturbed too.
About an event that happened at the county council that meeting last week. Tell us exactly what happened.
Well, long story short, we were hearing Bill 7908, which has to do with approval of a sports complex here in the city of O'Fallon that would include some hotels and some restaurants and various things. This is something that we have been discussing as a council for several years, and I have been involved in the conversations from the inception, but there were some questions that I had that came about toward the very end of this whole situation. And I just wanted my questions answered before our vote, and I did not feel like I was getting a satisfactory answer to the questions that I had. And so as a fiscal conservative, I ended up having to be a no vote on this. I honestly can't speculate why the others on the council, my three colleagues, were also no votes. But what I can tell you is, just as a reminder, that 40% of our council have only been representatives of O'Fallon since April. And so these four individuals were not part of these early conversations. So they did not know all of the history surrounding just what the city was telling them.
So, Linda, can you nutshell it for us? Like, what got everybody's dander up so much? What's going on here, and what's the current state of things?
Yeah, get to the juicy stuff.
Yeah.
So, I believe that the developer who, it's not a big-time developer who goes around developing like all these businesses. He's a local person. His son does not live very far from here. Unfortunately, I think the developer offered to be at the city council that meeting in case people had questions, and I think he was basically told, no, we've got you covered, we'll be fine. The city staff can handle telling the council what they need to know. And I think the developer was probably even told that it was going to be a 9-0 vote. And so imagine how the developer felt when all of a sudden it's 4-5 and his ordinance got defeated. So it's just very unfortunate. And I think what happened, whether it be this or several other situations, is that people on the council might be whipping for votes, but they don't bother reaching out to all of us that are on the council. And I think they just assume, since we told everybody that you need to be a yes vote, then you should be a yes vote. But I was not elected to be a rubber stamper, and I'm not going to be.
So when this vote failed, is that when the mayor called you all effing idiots?
So, yes, we do electronic voting. And when our city clerk announced that voting was now closed, and then they started tallying up what the votes were, before the mayor actually read the vote total, he said what he said. And, some people can say it was a hot mic. He probably didn't know. But, my stance on that is, first of all, I believe the mayor's mic is probably always on. Like, if I want to speak, I actually have to hold my button down to speak. The mayor's button pretty much stays on. So did he really not know that it was a hot mic? I don't know. But even if he didn't realize it was a hot mic, that's not something that's professional to say about council members at a council meeting. We're trying to conduct the important business of the city, and that's just not the time and place for it. I think it's forgotten on some that the council and the mayor's office are equal branches of our government. Right. There should be a mutual respect for our branches. And when there's not, and games get played, this is when our residents are the ones who lose.
Yeah, Linda, what did our mothers all teach us? If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? That's we learned that from a young age. And secondly,
that's correct.
Secondly, Linda, you said something very important there, and it's been playing out on the federal level for decades now, because Congress doesn't act as often or as vigorously as it should. That has empowered the executive branch, Democrat and Republican, over these years. A lot of people complain about that. So I give you kudos and credit as a former council member myself for making sure that the executive, in this case, on a city level, remembers that you all are a co-equal branch of government. So, Linda, where does this go from here? Maybe I'm asking you a cloudy crystal ball question here, but where do you think this might go from here? Are y'all going to go back to the drawing board? Are there some alternatives being offered? Is everybody just angry and not talking to each other? Or what's the situation?
And let me piggyback on Tim's question. Does the mayor and the developer have a relationship that that we should know about?
I don't believe that the mayor and the developer are at all in cahoots with each other. I actually know I have had several opportunities to meet the developer. I hate to even call him a developer because he just is somebody who happens to want to invest in our city. And so he's developing this particular land. He is a wonderful individual. I don't think that there's necessarily anything between the mayor and this individual. So I certainly don't want to go there. And now I forgot what the question was, Tim.
What's next?
Where do we go from here? So I will say that on Friday morning, my phone started blowing up. People, what's going on? And honestly, I didn't hear all of this from the dais. So I didn't know that all this was going on and that this was going to be as big of a thing as what it turned out to be. But the a mutual friend of the developer and mine called me and said, hey, can we just get together, the three of us, and just have a conversation and just see where we go from here? And, again, I have such respect for the man that wanted to develop this project. I'm like, well, of course I'm willing to meet with him. And so we came to the table. He was able to answer the questions that I was asking that I did not get appropriate answers to. So now, after talking to him and having better clarification, I am going to be the one myself. I've spoken to the other three that were also no votes, and we have decided as a group, again, not to say that people are going to change their votes, but we do feel like this particular ordinance has merit, and it should be brought up again for reconsideration. So this Thursday night, I am going to ask for it to be reconsidered.
Linda, our station owner lives out in O'Fallon. He may be one of your constituents. If one of your constituents want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
Well, he is not one of my constituents,
Okay.
but I do know about where he lives. But probably the easiest way to find me is on Facebook. I have a campaign webpage, Linda Ragsdale for O'Fallon Ward 5.
Okay. Linda, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for all the great work you're doing out there for the folks of O'Fallon.
Thank you. And quickly to piggyback on what Tim said, what my father just told me is 4-letter words are what you say when you can't think of anything else to say.
Good advice. All right, it's 4:57, Speaker Stump Speech, and Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at Red State, coming up. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk, STL.
It's not pleasant to hear it, but Missouri is falling behind in its spending of state tax dollars, education, and health care. But there are ways to get Missouri moving forward again and produce a better life for all of us. That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together a 2026 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can move to a brighter future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from taxes to government transparency, from education to healthcare and budget reform. Let's allow students to attend the school of their choice. Let's adopt new proven methods to help the many school kids who can barely read. Let's limit state spending growth for Missouri's long-term financial stability. And let's invest in future needs with more nuclear energy. Why not common sense reforms to make things better for all Missourians? Check out our 2026 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
They served our country with honor. Now it's our turn to serve them. Join the freedom13.org for an unforgettable gala honoring America's heroes, February 27th at the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles. A special evening supporting Freedom 13's bold mission. 50 camps in 50 states on more than 50,000 acres, building 650 homes for veterans, police, and their families. Tickets and sponsorship opportunities are available now. Visit thefreedom13.org. That's thefreedom13.org.
Are you ready to take a totally tubular trip down memory lane? Join us for the ultimate 80s and 90s trivia night, raising funds for the Nick Schroer for State Senate campaign. Dust off your neon, grab your friends, and test your knowledge on all the classics, from mixtapes to sitcoms, boy bands to blockbuster hits, and maybe even some political questions. It's all happening Saturday night, January 31st at the Elks Lodge in O'Fallon, Mo. Reserve your table now by emailing nick@nickschroer.com.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
By anti-ICE protesters provoking this response from the National Religious Broadcaster.
President and CEO Troy Miller has issued a statement saying in part, quote, NRB stands unapologetically for the First Amendment freedoms of speech and religion, empowering Christian communicators in the church and beyond. Houses of worship are inviolable sanctuaries, shielded by law from such vile intrusions. When mobs cross that line to bully and terrorize, they endanger the liberties of all Americans. NRB calls on church leaders, Christian communicators, and believers everywhere to rally with urgency to protect our faith. We call on law enforcement at every level to prosecute these offenders, ensuring churches remain bastions of peace, worship, and unyielding protection under the law, unquote. George Williams, Washington.
President Donald Trump has linked his aggressive stance on Greenland to last year's decision not to award him the Nobel Peace Prize.
At the Davos Forum in Switzerland, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent responded.
And I think it's complete canard that the president will be doing this because of the Nobel Prize. The president is looking at Greenland as a strategic asset for the United States.
The president's message was to Norway's Prime Minister, Jonas Gahr Støre. He said the president is very preoccupied with the Nobel Peace Prize, and I've explained to him many times that it's an award given by a Norwegian committee, not the Norwegian government. I'm Ed Donahue.
More than 100 vehicles smashed into each other or slid off the interstate in Michigan as snow fueled by the Great Lakes blanketed the state. The massive pileup Monday prompted the Michigan State Police to close both directions of Interstate 196 just southwest of Grand Rapids. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I had a lot of credit card debt, and it stressed me out. But what I thought was a solution turned out to be a problem. I kept hearing ads about debt settlement that seemed too good to be true. And actually, it was. When I called, they told me to stop paying my bills. That didn't sound right to me at all, so I hung up. Later, I found out that debt settlement is bad, real bad. Then I learned that there is a right way to pay off your credit cards. It's called a debt management program from the great team at Trinity. Trinity had a plan. In the end, I paid off my bills, I saved thousands, and I even improved my credit score.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Heather. Please forget debt settlement and remember Trinity Debt Management.
1-800-990-6976.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
The Swiss town of Davos is hosting the annual meeting of global political and corporate elites this week. World Economic.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more cold, frigid night, and then we'll get into a little bit of a warming trend. A low of 13, though, and not as windy in the morning, so wind chill not as big of a factor. A few clouds in the morning, then mostly sunny and a high of 38, getting above freezing. Even warmer for Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high of 46. We are watching another Arctic blast. It arrives Friday, Saturday. Could come with a little snow. We'll keep an eye on that towards the weekend, but it does look very cold, even lows near zero by Saturday morning. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America right here.
It's about time somebody stood up for true American values.
What this country needs is some backbone.
Finally, a president who wants to make real change.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The Attorney General has been on this from the moment it happened. There are already 2 prosecutors from my office on their way to Minneapolis, and they'll be there this morning. We have an FBI team assembled and local prosecutors as well. This is going to get the highest attention from the Department of Justice because there is no more sacred right in our Constitution than the right to assemble and pray to God. And there are federal laws that protect that right. And what happened here was a shameful exercise of virtue signaling, disruption, fear, terror. You can see children in this video being ushered out the back by their terrorized mothers. And this is illegal. And I want to add that the Biden administration prosecuted people peacefully praying outside abortion clinics for much, much less.
Indeed. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Harmeet Dillon there, explaining something that liberals used to understand and accept, but today's leftists have completely forgotten.
And I think what this demonstrates, too, Tim, is just how far Don Lemon's career has sank, that he has to be a part of a stunt like this, going into a house of worship, a sacred place, to try to make news and try to disrupt a sermon, a church service. I think that's one of the lowest of the lows that he's ever done in his career. And he's done some pretty low things, but this is like scraping the bottom.
Yeah, and how horrific. I mean, if you want to have a passionate debate on a street corner in a public place, in a public square with people of opposing views, then do that, but do it civilly and do it politely without throwing Molotov cocktails at each other. But to storm a church, it's the wrong place at the wrong time. It's absolutely an abomination. But today's left, Chris, they don't care. They are all about destroying and destruction.
And also, too, look how many church shootings that we've had over the last few years. I mean, these people were legitimately probably traumatized. Here's someone bursting into your church. You don't know if there's some gunman or some crazed lunatics about to shoot up the church. You know, this was totally irresponsible, and it just shows just how far Don Lemon's career has gone and what he will do to become relevant again and to gather ratings. This was disgusting.
And I'm just going to give a public service warning, Chris, to any of the crazy leftist agitators here in St. Louis. I'm not sure where the line would begin, but let's say I would heartily discourage you from going into any house of worship west of Highway 141.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just say it this way. People in my church, I know for a fact, freely exercise their Second Amendment rights. We have a whole host out in my neck of the woods in Eureka. Eureka is a place, it's a bedroom community where a lot of police officers live. I know this because I see their vehicles in their driveways. St. Louis County Police, a lot of other police officers, a lot of FBI and folks of that caliber. We have a lot of law enforcement, and we also have a lot of former military as well. And we have, I personally know one guy who's a former highway patrolman.
Yeah.
These people are always exercising their Second Amendment rights. So I would discourage you, any of you agitators, I know many of you, many liberals listen to our program, tell your friends not to go into churches in West St. Louis County or beyond, especially once you get into Jeffco, St. Charles, and Franklin, because it won't end well for you. Let me just put it that way.
It's just irresponsible. Like I said, we've had so many church shootings over the last few years, churches and synagogues. To pull a stunt like this is just, it's beyond the pale.
They've really hurt. They've hurt themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're out here. Okay, so they're out here. I'm not saying I agree with them, but their narrative is, oh, ICE is so horrible. ICE is doing all these horrible things to people. They're dragging innocent people from their homes and from their places of employment and asking them for their papers and all this. None of that's true, by the way. But then they become the violent agitators. They're doing things that they're accusing others of doing, which is what the liberal left always does.
Let me ask you this. I don't want to put you on the spot because I didn't go in depth on this story like I probably should have. What was the context for them going into this particular church? I know they were trying to disrupt things. I did hear Don Lemon interview a woman where they were saying that these were a bunch of people that were Klansmen or super right-wingers, and that's what made them feel justified to do this. But what was their justification for doing this?
I have heard in some of the. I haven't dug deeply into this, but I read some news where they said that the pastor had some connections, maybe to law enforcement or something, or to immigration officials.
That's the reason.
I don't know, because Chris, I don't know about you. I don't believe that Minnesota has a heavy Klan presence. You know,
I wouldn't think so.
I don't think they've ever been accused of that. Now, are there bad apples in every bushel?
Yeah,
sure, but. My understanding is this is just a Christian. I'm looking at the pictures of this church. It looks like a standard Christian church with very nice people, and I don't know why they stormed it. I have no idea.
And then they can't understand, these protesters, Antifa types. They can't understand why when they do these type of things, they don't win public opinion. They just are clueless. Like, we don't understand why we don't have the public behind us.
Right, exactly.
While you're burning down cities and causing mayhem.
Yeah. So Chris, here's one of the stories here. Let's see if this gives us any clues. Anti-ICE protesters disrupted services and shouted down parishioners inside a Christian church in Minnesota over the weekend for not challenging the Trump administration's immigration operations. So once again, they're being attacked because these Christians are not being obedient to the lunatic left. Is that why?
So they just found some random church and was like, yeah, let's go disrupt this service.
Several dozen protesters went inside the city's church in Minneapolis. I don't think it's known for Klan activity on Sunday and shouted down those in mass for not participating in anti-ICE demonstrations. Quote, "Where are your people? Why are you not fighting for humanity?"
Unbelievable.
So, Chris, I guess they were just like, well, there's a church over there, and they're in church. They're not out protesting with us. Let's go in there and yell and scream and ask them why they're not being obedient to the lunatic left rage mob.
We saw tendencies or tactics just like this during the whole George Floyd riot. You remember when white people would be at a restaurant eating, and there would be black activists that would just go into the restaurant just to disrupt their meal because they didn't feel that they were protesting enough about white racism and white privilege. They had nothing to do with it, but because they were enjoying a meal and they were white, that these activists felt they needed to come in and just disrupt their meal and their enjoyment. It sounds like it's kind of the same type of philosophy there.
Let's make an analogy to the patchwork quilt of left-wing lunacy. Same thing with the transgender movement, right?
Yeah.
If tolerance is no longer acceptable, now you have to exhibit obedience to the lunatic. You have to bow before the lunatic left. Here's another statement. Dr. Joe Rigney, a former pastor at the city's church, said the church isn't political.
Yeah.
So this isn't like it's not like this is a well-known church for anti-immigrant ideology, or they're a bunch of white Christian evil nationalists. He said, he went on one of the Fox programs. He said, "It's remarkable to see this sort of thing happening in America, to watch people disrupt and frighten children and harass churchgoers who are simply trying to worship God."
You know, and I watched the Don Lemon interview when they were staging this event to go into the churches. He did make a statement that just because you see a lot of white people out here doesn't mean that these are a bunch of racists or anything like that. I think the whole premise behind this is they didn't want a bunch of black people going into this white church because then it would just, the message would be lost. But if a bunch of white people invaded a white church, then that gives it some type of cover and it makes it okay.
Mm-hmm. And it seems like the majority of these protesters are mainly these white leftists like Renee Good, who somehow, I don't know if they
Let's
have...
just break it down even
further. I don't know if they have white guilt. I don't know what their problem
Let's
is.
break it down even further. What I've seen, that all of these protesters, the majority of them are white female lesbians.
Yes.
I'm just calling it what it, that's...
I don't think you're being... I don't think you're being unfair.
Yeah. That's what it seems. The majority of them are white female lesbians.
Yeah, I don't think you're being defamatory at all. I think you speaketh the truth. So here's the one possible connection. And again, this is no justification, but in these people's minds, one of the pastors, and this is only an allegation, one of the pastors is alleged to be leading the local ICE field office overseeing some of these operations.
Okay.
So whether or not that's true, these people thought that somebody in this church might have something to do with the ICE operation. Like, well, we're gonna go. That's not the proper place to have this discussion.
And currently, as we're watching Newsmax, Harmeet Dillon is being interviewed live, and the Chiron is saying the DOJ is going to investigate anti-ICE mob storming a Minnesota church. I mean, what they did was illegal. It was trespassing. It was terrorism, basically, because as we've been saying, you don't know who these people are. Are these mad people coming in to shoot up the place?
And let's think about what these people are defending. Ethan, there's a clip, number 4. Ethan, I'm going to have you play that in just a second. It's a real short clip. Chris, this was an interesting thing I found. It was an actual ICE agent, and I think he's not that this makes any difference or not, but he definitely has an accent. So this is not a bunch of evil old white guys, right? And this ICE agent, Chris, rolls up on some of these protesters and has some words with them and basically asks them, why are they defending the people that they are defending? Here's what he has to say.
We're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
Oh, they're not. No, we're pressed.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
That's who you guys are protecting.
And, it's ironic that you say that because I have seen a meme today where they had this ICE person who was of Mexican descent with an accent, and they were trying to make the case that the Trump administration is hiring a bunch of Mexicans to go and round up Mexicans and black people.
Yeah, well, they'll say anything they need to say. They won't address, I think this is all happening for 2 reasons. Number one, the multi-billions of dollars of fraud, Somali fraud, that the left doesn't want to talk about, so they're ginning everybody up to attack ICE. And look, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris imported 20 million people into our country. The Trump administration is now trying to figure out where those people are and whether or not they should be here. Most of them shouldn't be. And they're trying to kick them out. And the Democrats are going, crap, all of our future voters are being deported out of the country, and they're losing their ever-loving minds.
Exactly.
It's unbelievable indeed. We got a great rest of the hour coming up. We're going to get the Speaker Stump Speech in just a second regarding the Commonwealth of Virginia. And are they going to revert back to the crazy at 525? Susie Moore, managing editor, deputy managing editor at redstate.com with the top Red State headlines of the day. And Chris is going to tell us at 545 about the fact that the U.S. is not the only economic superpower in the Western civilization world that is experiencing a decline in birth rates.
I wonder if abortion has anything to do with that.
Ooh,
they don't ever put that two together. Amazing.
A little clue indeed. All right, without further ado, let's get to today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Well, this was inspired by the fact that Governor Glenn Youngkin, who was one of the better governors over the last 4 years, is now unfortunately leaving office. And crazy-ass Abigail Spanberger, I'm sorry, has taken the helm. Look, folks, I don't know Abigail Spanberger personally. I know she did serve our country. I believe she was in the CIA, maybe the military as well. And she has devoted her life to public service. That's fine. I wish she would maybe remember some of the original reasons that she wanted to get into the public service world instead of just adopting all of the worst aspects of her lunatic left-leaning base. As we talked about last week, John Fetterman is going to be an interesting test case in the Democratic Party to see whether or not the Democratic Party can be saved from itself. A lot of people in the Democratic Party are just going along to get along. They're adopting all of this left-wing lunacy. They're adopting this idea that we can just presume wrongly that money grows on trees and we can spend our country into oblivion. They're wrongly adopting the notion that America is no longer a superpower and that we should just lead from behind, like Barack Obama and Joe Biden were famous for, when the world became a much more dangerous, problematic, troubled place where U.S. authority and leadership, more importantly, leadership, was not recognized. They believe that men can play in girls' sports, that we should just freely lop off kids' body parts and treat them like little Mr. and Mrs. Potato Heads, and the list goes on and on. Governor Glenn Youngkin, and he wasn't perfect, but he was such a breath of fresh air in a state that once used to be reliably red, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and now is definitely purple, trending towards blue. Many believe that occurred because during the 8 years of Barack Obama, Obama was successful in massively growing government. And where did all those people go? Well, they decided to live in the Tony suburbs of the beautiful Commonwealth of Virginia. If you haven't been to Virginia, it is a beautiful state. It has beautiful things. It has wonderful historical markers like Monticello, the home of Thomas Jefferson. It has the College of William and Mary, where my wife Suzanne went to school and where I have visited many times. It has Colonial Williamsburg. It has Shoreline. It has Norfolk, where they build a lot of the naval warships for our country's protection and safety. There's a lot of military men and women that live in Virginia. My cousin Sarah, who works for the government in CBP ICE operations, lives in Virginia. It's got Mount Vernon, right? So much stuff. It's a wonderful state. It's a beautiful state, but it has been subjected to a leftward tilt because largely of the fact that government grew greatly during the Obama years and then was put on steroids during the Joe Biden years. And it's going to take a long time to kind of empty out Northern Virginia and just have normal Virginians living there once again. Glenn Youngkin, though, came in on the heels of the parental revolution. And, man, was he so good at look, in a purplish state, he knew that he couldn't run on, like, hardcore conservative issues, but he could run on issues that are like 80 to 90% issues, right? Education, what your children should or should not be subjected to in school. His record on jobs, education, and public safety is really unassailable. He turned Virginia around. He stopped the hemorrhaging, the economic hemorrhaging that Virginia was experiencing. They were really dealing with tough economic straits before because of what they stupidly did during COVID. He turned that mighty ship around. He instilled some sanity in the education system. Virginia was the subject of so many lawsuits that parents brought against some of these actions of these ridiculous school districts. I'm so afraid now for Virginia's future because if my memory is correct, I believe they may now have a trifecta of Democratic rule. I'm not sure about their Senate, but I know their House is definitely Democratic, and now a Democrat is back in the governor's mansion. She'll only serve for 4 years. Virginia's a very strange state, which has a one-term term limit on all their governors. They can only serve for 4 years. They get elected very much in the off season generally. So it's very odd the way that runs, and she'll only be there for 4 years, but I wonder how much damage she will do. Governor Glenn Youngkin turned around the Commonwealth by being just a common-sense conservative, talking to voters and to citizens about those 80 to 90% issues, and he was extremely successful. Hopefully, Abigail Spanberger will not bring complete crazy back to the Commonwealth. And that's the Speaker Stump Speech for today.
Ben Youngkin was a great governor. I got a chance to interview him for my personal podcast before the primary and after he won. There was talk of him running for president in 2024. That talk died down. What surprises me, Tim, is 2028. I know Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance are kind of the front runners right now, but kind of surprises me you don't hear a lot of talk about his hat being thrown into the 2028 presidential race. He made his fortune as a hedge fund manager in the private sector. He went to the University of Houston on a basketball scholarship. He will tell you that he did not play very often, but he enjoyed the experience of that. And just a very, very likable man. Very likable.
Listen to this one line about his talent in public service. During his 4 years, Virginia generated $10 billion in surplus revenue, $9 billion in tax relief alone, and that's in a divided government state with Youngkin at the helm.
Yeah.
Remarkable statesman.
And it's remarkable that he was elected because I'm a little more pessimistic about Virginia, Tim. I think Virginia's gone. It's going to be a blue state. Prince George's County is the fastest growing county in the United States, and that is the suburb of where all the Washingtonians live. So I think it's gone.
I think you'd have to have a Republican president for about 20 years, for like 5 terms, Chris, in order to convince all those liberals to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because you're right. They love taking credit for everything conservatives bring as far as prosperity. And then they somehow always manage to screw it up.
Yeah, I know we got a good Republican candidate for county executive this year, Dennis Hancock in the 6th District.
Same situation.
But I just think St. Louis County is gone. We're not going to see a Republican county executive anytime soon.
Best we can hope for is a not crazy Democrat.
Exactly.
If that unicorn still exists.
I don't think so.
We'll see. All right, when we get back, Susie Moore with all the top Red State headlines of the day. If you check out redstate.com during the break, you'll see a big headline about 2028 Democratic hopefuls. 19 out of the 20 think biology is just a suggestion.
Yeah.
We'll break that down and more when we come back with the one and only Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at redstate.com, co-host of the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Thanks for listening to us on the holiday. Number 1 for live and local conservative talk. That's us right here, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more cold, frigid night, and then we'll get into a little bit of a warming trend. A low of 13, though, and not as windy in the morning, so wind chill not as big of a factor. A few clouds in the morning, then mostly sunny and a high of 38, getting above freezing. Even warmer for Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high of 46. We are watching another Arctic blast. It arrives Friday, Saturday. Could come with a little snow. We'll keep an eye on that towards the weekend, but it does look very cold, even lows near 0 by Saturday morning. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey, let me tell you about something I actually use all the time, and I've been telling you about. It's Royal Banks of Missouri's interactive teller machines, or their ITMs. You know, today was a holiday and the bank lobby was closed, but if you were a customer of Royal Bank, you could have used their ITMs. There was somebody manning them. You know, ITMs, these aren't your old school ATMs. With an ITM, you can talk to a live and real Royal Banks teller through video and audio, just like you're inside the branch without ever leaving your car. I love them because they're fast, they're convenient, and personal. I can make deposits, withdrawals, loan payments, cash checks, and transfer money. And if I need help, a real person just like today is right there on the screen. And here's the part that really matters to me. They're open longer than normal banking hours, weekdays from 8 to 7 and Saturdays from 9 to 2. When you've got a busy schedule like I have, that makes a huge difference. I've banked with Royal Banks of Missouri for over 20 years because they've always taken the time to understand what matters. And for me, that means convenience when life doesn't fit into banker's hours. With 16 locations across St. Louis, St. Charles, Illinois, and Northeast Missouri, Royal Banks is locally owned, independently run, and invested right here in our community. Learn more at royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com, Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. Unfortunately, St. Louis City streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline.
Hello, Kirk Ilsinger, chairman of the Republican Party for the city of St. Louis, and we believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. I invite you to our meetings the first Thursday of every month. Learn more at stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-515-2397. 800-515-2397. That's 800-515-2397.
This Susie Moore segment brought to you by Harpo's Bar and Grill in Chesterfield.
Completely agree with you that under Biden's presidency, not enough was done to secure the border. No question about that. We had a problem with enforcing immigration laws. We should enforce immigration laws. But what President Trump has done here is escalate the situation to go way beyond that and violate people's rights. I mean, we are at a place now where ICE feels like they can stop anybody and say, show me your papers, basically. And if you don't have them, or if you argue about it, you are thrown to the ground, you are detained in a way that is a fundamental violation of rights.
Wow, that is a Congressman, Adam Smith, from the extremely liberal state of Washington, admitting something that Democrats never admitted when Biden was in office. It's that Biden failed on immigration. But yet somehow, Chris, all this chaos we're having now is all Trump's fault.
And one thing that they won't tell you when they try to give you this narrative that just random people are just being pulled over and asked to show your papers is these ICE agents are pulling these people over when they have some type of probable cause. They're not just looking at you and saying, hey, you look foreign, show me your papers. They have probable cause. And I wish, if they want to be honest, I wish that they would include that in their narrative.
Mm-hmm. Let's dumb it down for all the liberals in the audience. Donald Trump and ICE are trying to clean up the massive mess that you liberals created under Joe Biden, which one of your own congressmen right there admitted was true. Let's see what our next guest thinks about that and much more.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you. Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
She truly is a woman of many talents. The co-host of Mike Ferguson in the Morning, deputy managing editor of RedState.com, at SmoozyQ on Twitter X, and our guest here this afternoon, as she is on almost every Monday afternoon around this time. Susie Moore, how you doing?
I'm good, Tim. How are you guys?
Yeah, happy MLK Day.
Happy MLK Day.
Indeed. We're all just working away here on the holiday. Hey, Susie, aren't Democrats I got to give them credit, Susie. They are the masters of gaslighting and revisionist history. Now they're completely losing their minds because Donald Trump and ICE, which is nothing more than immigration's custom enforcement, they've been around forever. They've been doing these things forever. They did this during the Obama administration as well, and taking care of the messes that were caused by liberal lunacy of having a wide open border for 4.5 years. What say you?
Well, I think you nailed it there. I mean, it's the gaslighting, it's the spinning, it's, it's very convenient now to acknowledge that there was a problem because of Joe Biden's policies. Where was that admission and acknowledgement during the 4 years we had to suffer under his administration? Where were any efforts serious efforts at trying to stem the tide and address the issues that were being created by it? Nowhere to be found. So it's pretty rich to be complaining about it all now. And to act like Donald Trump is the first president who's deported people. If you want to quibble with tactics, if you want to say, I think this law should be different, or, I would like to see changes to how these policies are implemented, fine. That's a reasonable discussion to have. There are ways to do that. But the way they're going about it, they're fomenting the outrage, and then they're, crying foul when there ends up being conflict over it.
Susie, give us the facts on Don Low Lemon's escapade at the church there Sunday. We don't know all of the details. We kind of, skimmed it. But what are the details here?
Well, and I don't know all of the details, but from what I can glean, Don Lemon decided that he was going to basically embed himself with these protesters. And clearly he knew ahead of time, at least at some point, that they were going into this church. He interviewed them outside of it and then went in with them. And while they were there disrupting a worship service, took it upon himself to grill the pastor who was trying to keep, things from spinning completely out of control, to argue about exercising their First Amendment rights, which is, completely misconstruing what the First Amendment is and isn't, and to basically partake in the demonstration. And now he's trying to claim that, he was just there as an objective journalist. He wasn't really part of it.
Susie, I also watched the Scott Bessent interview with Kristen Welker on Meet the Depressed, as I think Laura Ingraham calls them. And I know you wrote an entire article about that appearance. Susie, it's amazing. Back in the day, Democrats used to be so much better at communication and wordsmithing, mainly because they have no problem with lying with abandon. But now I think we're in the golden age of conservative talkers. You've got, J.D. Vance and Rubio and Carolyn Levitt and Stephen Miller, Tom Cotton. Our own Eric Schmidt does a great job on the airwaves. And then Scott Bessent. You wrote an article, Scott Bessent, on Greenland, tariffs, and why Jerome Powell is in a pickle. Susie, go ahead and tackle any of those topics that you thought were interesting that Scott Bessent discussed in that NBC News presser yesterday morning.
Yeah, well, he first of all addressed the issue of Greenland as a strategic acquisition and why it's important. What its importance is to the U.S., its strategic value to the U.S., and why President Trump is making a play for it. And he explained, the idea here is to have the ability to in order to implement peace through strength, you have to be in a strong position. And, this is all part of the strategy. She was asking about the idea of implementing tariffs against those countries that are basically, trying to obstruct the move regarding Greenland. And he was explaining, why is this an emergency? He's like, this is an emergency. The emergency is trying to prevent there from being an emergency. And I think the idea is, if we don't do something maybe bold, maybe a little brash, but significant here with regard to that, it's leaving it basically for Russia and China to move in. And we don't want them in our hemisphere. We don't want them controlling the North Atlantic. And Europe, of all places, should be in agreement. We don't want Russia in charge of it. So I think he was just kind of laying out why this is a sound strategy move for the administration and kind of pushing back on some of the criticisms of it. And with regard to Jerome Powell, his point was, look, if he had just responded when we were asking for information on, what's going on with these renovations, why are they over budget, why are we over time, what is the issue here, then we wouldn't have this investigation. And he was saying, if the DOJ was calling me and asking for information, I'd be talking to him and giving it to him. So I think that underscores why this isn't just about, retribution because Jerome Powell won't lower interest rates, but it's about there's a serious concern here. This is, a significant amount of money and expenditure that's going into this, the renovations of this place that basically can print its own money and no accountability or oversight for it. So what's the harm in asking for that oversight?
Suze, you wrote an article a few days ago that grabbed my attention. It was about the Congresswoman from Wyoming, Harriet Hageman, who beat Liz Cheney to take her seat. I'm interested in that because Tim and I got a chance to meet her when we were over in Israel. And what is your article about?
So there was a hearing last week. It was, I think, the inaugural hearing of the new and improved J6 committee, the one with, that's actually bipartisan and chaired by Barry Loudermilk. And in the middle of that hearing, she was questioning a witness who was, I think, one of the former prosecutors with the DOJ. And she was asking him to acknowledge that no one was charged with insurrection because Jamie Raskin had referred to someone as to one of the defendants as someone who was a convicted insurrectionist. And she was making the point that that wasn't the charge that was levied against that person or anyone. And in the middle of it all, Jamie Raskin tried to interrupt her and kind of, talk over her and ask for, if he could have a moment to interrupt. And she was like, no. And the look she gave him was a death stare. And it just reminded me of, A, why I really enjoy watching her, particularly in committee hearings, and B, why I would never want to be on her bad side.
Yes, indeed, for sure. Speaking of Susie Moore, she's, of course, the co-host of the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show and deputy managing editor, RedState.com. She has her own podcast broadcast as well, Red State Radio, heard live every Sunday here at 4 p.m. And then, of course, just like all of our programs, you can pick that up wherever you find podcasts. Susie, as I'm curious to know, as someone like us who's in daily communication and spin and talking points and arguments on public policy and politics, where do you think the American people in general are buying the left's narrative about the evil Nazi-esque ICE, or are they just so over the top with their rhetoric, as ICE is doing nothing more than trying to enforce our immigration laws, that the left is, losing the argument on this particular subject? Where do you think people are generally? Have you seen any polling on this? I guess is what I'm asking.
I haven't seen polling on it. I'm sure there is polling out there. I have not seen it. But I think that it's a mixed bag. And I think people are maybe in a little bit of both places. I do think that there are average, everyday Americans who, maybe they vote more Democrat than Republican, but maybe they're open to persuasion on some issues. And they're, what we would consider sort of maybe classical liberals or moderates. Who are seeing some of the scenes and are disturbed by them in terms of feeling that there's been a little bit of a heavy-handed response from the government. They're upset by what happened with Renee Good. They're upset by some of those scenes, and they maybe are very sympathetic to the idea of illegal people who are here illegally, but who aren't otherwise criminals and are, still potentially, at risk of being deported. So that emotional ploy is persuasive to them. Those people are real. They're out there. They're friends of mine, yours, and whatever. So we have to recognize that. But I also think maybe even those same people see these protesters marching into a church yesterday and disturbing that service, and see standing outside of hotels, yelling at the people that work there because they think ICE is staying there, walking into a deli and asking if a bunch of guys that were like engineers, I think, were ICE agents. And they see that kind of behavior, and that's a turnoff as well. So, from a messaging perspective, I don't know how it's going to play out in the long run. I do think that there are elements on the left that are trying very, very hard to provoke an extremely strong response out of the administration so that they can then play victim over it. So we're just going to probably see this back and forth.
Susie, you wrote a potential go broke, go woke, go broke story or article a couple of days ago. What's this about? Minneapolis hotels are canceling ICE agent reservations?
Well, so that was reported over the weekend, and there was a couple of hotels that advised ICE agents who had reservations with them that they were canceling the reservations and actually closing down the hotels. And the reason that they were giving was from a safety and security standpoint. And I think there might be a valid argument there. We've seen some of these rioters and agitators standing outside the hotels and getting into it with like hotel staff and making, creating all kinds of issues for both, guests and staff. So I could understand there basically being maybe a concern that, if we try to stay open, we're going to end up with property damage and worse on our property. The problem with that is that while they let the ICE agents know, hey, we're going to have to cancel your reservation because of safety and security concerns, they apparently didn't cancel everyone's reservation, or at least reportedly they didn't. So there was some discrepancy there. It's not like the one a couple weeks ago that was like, we don't want your kind here. It wasn't quite so blatant. But it still goes to show what the issue that we're having with all of these protests and riots. When you're interfering with businesses, when you're interfering with just normal commerce, you're not really making your point. You're just creating a headache for everybody.
Yeah. And then they can't understand why public perception is not on their side.
Yeah.
That's what amazes me.
Just stunned, shocked and chagrined, I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
That's Susie Moore. You can hear more of that wit, wisdom, and knowledge every morning. Mike Ferguson in the morning. Susie, of course, co-host of that great program, which starts things off every morning here at News Talk STL. And you can listen to her on the weekends, Red State Radio, Sundays at 4 p.m. at SmoozyQ247 on Twitter X. Susie, thanks so much for always doing a little double time with us on Monday afternoons. We appreciate you, and we'll listen to you tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Susie.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great evening.
And on a holiday, you forgot to put that in.
Indeed. Triple time. 5:44 on this wonderful holiday Monday. Hope you're staying warm out there. Hate to tell y'all, despite all the alarmism about climate change and global warming, this is going to be one of the coldest weeks we've had in a long time, Chris. Single-digit temperatures at night, I think tonight, and then we warm a touch, and then back into the deep freeze later in the week.
My wife and I walked this morning our 2 miles. It was 14
God
degrees
bless ya.
outside, and everyone was passing us, looking at us like, these people are crazy.
Are they lost? Are they okay? Did they just escape from the mental ward? Yeah. Good for you.
I was bundled up.
Good for you.
I was bundled up real nice.
I didn't go anywhere yesterday at all, and good for you, man.
Remember, I had one of those heated jackets.
Oh, that's right. You got the vest.
Yes.
Vest or jacket.
I cheated a little bit.
No, that's not cheating.
That's cheating, isn't it?
No, because we have the hand warmers and things, Hey, however you can make the blood boil,
Exactly.
We don't want you to get frostbite.
Exactly.
5:45 in the p.m. Oh, by the way, folks, check out newstalkstl.com. We always have a lot of great information on there about upcoming events. Nick Schroer's got his trivia night coming up. I know there's information on there. There's retrospective stuff about our visit to Jefferson City for the opening day. There is information about the Freedom 13 organization's gala and so much more. Chris, speaking of Jeff City, I'll head back there tomorrow. We're starting to get into the regular run of things.
It's going to be cold up
there. I'll be up there. I'll be broadcasting from Studio Schroer on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay.
So I'll be bringing you all the news of what the heck's going on. Do you know that this is now, I think, the third week already of the legislative session?
Wow,
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed that it's January 19th, that this month is almost over. We're almost finished with the first month of 2026.
Yeah,
That's
this
insane.
is really insane because we're on the week of the 19th.
Yeah.
Next week, a week from now, is the last week of January.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun, and in order to keep up with everything, that's why you folks need to listen to us every day here at News Talk STL. When we come back, Chris is going to tell us about the fact that the U.S. is not the only Western civilization economic superpower that is experiencing declining birth rates. What might that be? What might that be owed to? We'll have interesting answers on that, and we'll prepare you for Larry Connors USA at 6:05. All that and more when we return for one final segment, jam-packed, of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Think about all the changes came about my way.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. One more cold, frigid night, and then we'll get into a little bit of a warming trend. A low of 13, though, and not as windy in the morning, so wind chill not as big of a factor. A few clouds in the morning, then mostly sunny and a high of 38, getting above freezing. Even warmer for Wednesday, mostly sunny and a high of 46. We are watching another Arctic blast. It arrives Friday, Saturday. Could come with a little snow. We'll keep an eye on that towards the weekend, but it does look very cold, even lows near zero by Saturday morning. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Hey, it's Vic and Ken. Hi, Ken. Hey, Vic. We got the weekend off. We got Monday off. So we will see you bright and early. Well, early, not bright. 9 o'clock on Tuesday.
Got it. Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Your business moves fast. PRI Global keeps it moving smarter for almost 30 years, delivering top tech talent to help companies grow stronger, custom applications, simplifying your operations, securing your data, modernizing your business from the cloud up. And with Prismatic, you're going to get real-time insights, automated workflows, people, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all three. PRIGlobal.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Too dangerous to keep.
5:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And if you've been hearing a little different bumper music today, that is from our executive producer filling in, producer Ethan. Thank you, sir, for the great music that you've been playing today. Some eclectic things.
I put these songs into the system way back when I got here 2 years ago, and we never get to hear them anymore.
Boss Skaggs, when you play that Boss Skaggs Lido, that was my jam
I know,
back
man.
in the
It's
day.
It's a great opener, I'll tell you
It
that.
is.
That's fun as soon as it kicks in.
Well, we appreciate you. You filling in all week?
I
Most
might
of the
take 1 or 2 days off, but
Okay.
yeah, most of the week, yeah.
All right, we appreciate you coming in. Thank you. You're not going to do any movie reviews or anything, are you?
Man, I don't watch movies. I hate to say it.
Oh, okay.
I can do some video game reviews, but I don't think.
okay.
I don't think anybody wants to.
Ethan, who was that? Who was that band? I recognize them, but I can't.
That
think
was
of
the Church.
That was
Most
the Church.
famous
Yes,
for
the Church.
Under
yes.
the Milky Way would
Yes.
be maybe the song you would
Great
know.
band from the 90s.
Probably 80s.
80s,
Probably,
90s.
yeah.
Yes, indeed. Chris, speaking of stuff on TV, I started watching that Netflix. It's a special limited series. It's only 4 episodes about James Garfield. Did you hear about this?
No, I knew I know there was one special they had that's 5 episodes, but I didn't know.
Maybe that's it.
No, it was something totally different.
Okay, it's Death by Lightning.
Okay.
And you would like it. So Suzanne stumbled across it a number of weeks ago, started watching it, and stopped because she was like, Tim needs to watch this. I think he'd really like this. I think you would really enjoy it, too. It's all about President James Garfield's assassination, Death by Lightning, and it is only 4 episodes, and it's fascinating. And you know what? The opening, they start the series. The opening, I've only watched episode 1, and it says, this is the true story about 2 men that history has forgotten. The 20th President of the United States and the man who shot him.
And James Garfield, if I remember correctly, you're the history buff. He wasn't president very long.
No,
was he?
very short.
Yeah.
You know who they have playing him? Michael Shannon, who's an awesome actor. He was in Boardwalk Empire, and he was General Zod in one of the Superman.
Okay, yeah, I remember General Zod.
He's got that really
He's
nasally...
still alive, General Zod?
No, Michael Shannon.
Oh, okay.
From the remake.
Oh, I thought you were
remake.
talking about from like the
No.
1970s.
No, the remake.
Okay.
So the phrase "death by lightning"
Right.
encapsulates the tragic randomness of President Garfield's fate, as he actually died from infection
that's
after
what I
being
heard that.
shot,
Yeah.
not from the bullet. That shows you how far medicine has advanced. Anyway, there's what's his name is also in it. The guy from Parks and Rec, the big libertarian. Ron Swanson.
I don't know any
Yeah.
of these.
Well, you would know this guy if you saw him.
Right.
Anyway, it's a cast of thousands. It's a period piece.
Okay.
It's the 70s, I think.
I think 1870s, yeah.
I think 1870s. It's extremely well acted. You would enjoy it because there's like convention scenes and stuff. It's
Okay.
really cool to watch how they used to do it 130 years ago, and it's a fascinating story. The guy who, you know who it is because they introduced the assassin right
Okay.
off. He was wacky tobacco.
Why did he do it? Or is that giving away?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I don't know yet, but he's not right in the head. and he has delusions of grandeur.
Okay.
And I have a feeling that he meets Garfield in the first episode.
Okay.
and and Garfield says Garfield was accidentally nominated president, right? And he was accidentally nominated president at the nominating convention, and then he kind of walks out of the convention hall and he's stunned, and he's like, "What the hell just happened?"
I'm gonna be president.
And this guy, the assassin, walks up to him and is like, "Mr. Garfield, congratulations." And Garfield says to him, "Well, son, together we can do great things." And so this guy takes that as like an invitation to, like, I guess, help him on his campaign. I have a feeling that maybe he tries to help and he's disappointed because everybody thinks he's nuts, which he kind of is, and maybe that's why he gets angry. I don't know. I've only watched the first episode.
When you were talking about like a 4 or 5 episode run, there's another show on Netflix about this guy that's a superhero, and that's supposed to be like 5 episodes. It's a black guy, and it's about a movie, and it's like, I don't know. It's something about he's a superhero, but it's like 5 episodes.
I think I know what you're talking about.
You've seen the previews for that?
I've seen
That's
the
what I
previews
thought you were
for it.
talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, every once in a while you stumble across something really unique and interesting like that. So it's 4 episodes. It's something I can get through pretty quickly, and I'll let you know how it turns out. But so far, so good. The acting is really good, and they do a really good job with bringing you back into that time period. So
it's just amazing how television has changed, where you have 4 and 5 episode shows, or you have like these Netflix shows now where they purposely design these seasons to have like 5 seasons and that's it. Used to be you start a TV show and you want to run as long as you can, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. But now these shows, they have them, planned for about 4 or 5 years, and then, that's it. It's amazing just how television has changed.
So I'm not going to ruin anything for anybody because this happened 140 years ago. But just to remind everyone, Garfield only served from March through September.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that long.
Of 1881. Yeah. That's it. Amazing.
I did not think it was that long. And it's amazing, too, also, because in 1981, Ronald Reagan was almost assassinated.
How about that?
Almost 100 years later.
How about that?
Shot by, what was it, John Hinckley?
The assassinated by a disgruntled office seeker, Charles Guiteau, just 200 days after taking office. A former congressman, general, and college president, Garfield was the only sitting House member ever elected president, known for his academic brilliance and efforts to restore prestige to the office following Reconstruction.
What was he, Republican or Democrat?
Republican.
Okay.
Big believer in everything that Lincoln stood for.
Excellent. All right, let's get to the birth rates here.
Yeah.
China birth rate last year was the lowest on record since 1949. That's the year that Mao Zedong's communists took over, according to data out today. It's the 4th straight year of decrease, leaving the second most populous country after India, smaller and older, as policymakers failed to slow a demographic crisis. China's population in 2025 stood at 1.4 billion, down 3 million from 2024. And, they're supposed to be our economic rival, and we're supposed to be worried about them in the future. They've got big problems because of this, because of their aging population, and they're not replacing their younger workers. And younger workers, of course, are the people that go to school and become educated and innovate. China is a competitors of us right now, but unless they get this problem under control, they're not going to be a long-term problem for us as competitors.
They had a really stupid policy for decades, the one-child policy. Actually, the one-boy-child policy. Yeah. And basically, they were the state sponsors of abortion and play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, I remember they used to have a policy that if it was a boy, they would let the child live, but if it was a girl, they would abort the child or kill the children. They just did not want girls, and now that policy is, as they're emerging as a world power, now it's coming back to kick them in the butt.
Chicken's coming home to roost.
It is. All right, great Monday show. Tim, we talked about it earlier at the beginning. Great football game tonight, Indiana against the Hurricanes. You've got the Indiana. I'm going with Indiana. I'm going for the underdog. We'll have the updates on that tomorrow. Coming up, the story behind the story, Larry Connor's USA at 6. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Hey, it's good to see you.
At Grasser Home Services, we're looking for happy plumbers to join our team. Plumbers who are polite, honest, and do the job right.
And love dogs. They must love dogs.
Plumbers who treat customers' homes with respect, care about the details, and show up on time.
Know a happy plumber who's great with dogs?
Have them call Grasser Home Services.
Green is always grass.